Good afternoon, guys. It is February the 21st, and we had a really cold couple of last days. It's been pretty ridiculous. It's gotten down into the 30s at night, highs in the upper 40s. So it's been pretty chilly for the last few days. Right now, just got out here about 11 o'clock, 11:30, somewhere along in there, and decided to start out a little bit deeper. The water's a little bit dingy, little stained. We had some pretty good rain a couple of days ago, so the water's a little bit on the stained side, and I don't know what the water temperature is just yet. My temperature gauge hasn't registered anything yet, but I'm assuming the water probably got back down in the lower 50s after it was coming up, and there's one right there. So looks like they might have moved out a little bit deeper. Go first cast, first fish. So I'm gonna probably keep a few fish today. That looks like a pretty nice keeper, but basically I'm throwing that Z-Man Big Ballers on a little light jig head. This is a death grip jig head. It's got a bunch of little collars on there, holds that bait on there really good. So let's measure this guy, and he's right at 16 inches. So got our first keeper in the boat. So that one looked like he was out in about 10 or 11 foot of water, just working this bait really slow. This is one of my this is one of the spots that I come try whenever the fish start getting out deeper. It usually holds fish because there's a big point behind us, and there's a flat over here to our left, and we're just it's kind of like a bottleneck right here. So it drops down to about 13 foot, and usually just end up fishing this spot pretty slow and see if we can pick up a couple more. Wind's blowing out of the northeast today. It's blowing pretty good, so this bank right here gives us some protection. So we're gonna probably just spot lock it right here and see what we can do. Make a few casts out here in this little hole. This bait here, you gotta let it fall pretty good. Real slow bait, so gotta watch your line, make sure your line's still moving. That signifies that it's still dropping, you know. So you want to make sure that letting that bait go down, and then you can give it some pops up off the bottom, give it some good hops, and then you want to let it sink back down to the bottom. So kind of slow fishing like this, unless you put a heavier jig head on, but sometimes you'll put that heavier jig head on and it doesn't give you the same type of bite. So just throwing it out there, and go down to the bottom, jig it pretty good. I mean, you want to really rip it, and almost every time your bite's going to come on that fall. Whenever it starts going down, you'll feel just a little tick. Sometimes they'll just load up on there, they'll just be there. But so you want to make sure that you got good contact with your bait. Kind of imagine in your mind what it's doing. Make sure that you're, like I said, always watching your line, and always feel as though you're in control of the bait. Because if not, you're going to miss some of those lighter bites. And sometimes those lighter bites are those bigger fish, and they'll just... There's another one. Feels like a decent fish. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. This might be a 20-incher. Quit, Millie. Quit, Millie. Oh my God, guys. Sorry about that. Man, look at that. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Look at this fish. Look at this fish. Oh, I think we got a releaseover20.org fish. All right, I'm gonna put him in the live well real quick so I can get my measuring tape out. Chat, Millie. Oh man, that's okay. I don't need it that long anyway. All right, so let's get this down here. There we go, guys. 21 inches on the dot. So we've got one for releaseover20.org, and there we go. So Don Balius contacted me through Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and he introduced me to releaseover20.org. And you know, I release a lot of fish anyways, especially the big ones. I like throwing the big ones back because they produce a lot of offspring, you know. And especially this year, we've had freezes all across the Gulf Coast. We've had tons of fish kills all over the Gulf Coast. So it's real important to be, you know, sportsmen, conserve our resource. You know, we want to be able to catch these fish year after year. I know I remember whenever I was younger, you know, catching fish over 20 inches was, you know, a regular occurrence. And nowadays, you know, we're catching a lot of, you know, 18, 19 inch trout, but those fish over 20 inches, they're becoming fewer and fewer every year, it seems like to me anyways. But really good organization. It's pretty cool. They have a leaderboard. You can go on there, you register, put your name in there, you take a picture of your fish, put the measurements in there, and you get some free stickers and everything. So it's pretty cool. So and they break it down by state, month, whatever, you know. So it's really cool. Releaseover20.org. I would highly suggest you guys visit it. It's pretty cool. So go on there and register. And every state, I believe, has a every state, I believe, has their own representative as well. My camera may be too heavy today for this. Let's see. Anyways, all right. So let's get back to fishing. That's really cool. Second fish of the day, 21 incher, guys. That's awesome. And it hit it exactly like I was saying. Let that thing fall, and right there, when it starts to fall, or whenever it's almost done falling, they'll sit there and pick it up. So that was really cool. Real pretty fish. Nice big healthy fish. And I really think it's that aggressive rip too. It's that real aggressive rip up. You just rip it up off the bottom and you let it fall. And I think both of those things together really help get those bites with these fish. The bad thing about ripping it like that is you'll get what I got right here, which is where the your line, especially with braid, it's terrible with braid. It'll flip over your tip and it'll get kind of hung up in there, and then you gotta go over there and flip your line back out. That's really the most aggravating thing about this retrieve. So we're just going to fan cast right here. Like I said, this is a bottleneck. We've got a really deep hole behind us, a point that goes out to the deep hole, and I mean deep, like 20 something feet deep, and we've got a flat over to our left, and we've got a bend up in front of us, and this bend isn't as deep as you would think it is. It's only about 10 foot deep over there, but it's kind of like a bottleneck, and this is like the beginning of the drop off in this area that goes out into the deep hole. So it brings a lot of bait fish in here. Really good area to look for fish in the winter time. If it's been cold, all that bait fish will kind of congregate to these areas. It may not be all the way in those deep holes, you know, because it's not quite that cold, but they'll be around them, you know. So just had one just barely grab it right there. Just barely picked it up. Didn't need it though. Ease on up just a little bit, getting a little bit shallower water. Now what I really like, whenever you throw it out there and one's on it before it even hits bottom, that's what I really like. And kind of tuck in right here behind this tree, kind of protect us from the wind a little bit better. There's one. Well, this feels like another decent fish. That little redfish. That's why he felt decent. I'll kind of spot lock it right here. I like this. We're really protected right here. Got a lot of protection from the wind. So right here to our right, this bank comes out, and it gradually tapers out, but it's a pretty quick taper. Like, it's not just like it's not a bank that comes way out and gradually tapers. It kind of comes out and then tapers down pretty quick. So I'm actually able to cast pretty close to this bank right here and still be in fairly deep water. Further out here to our left we go, it drops off and then it goes into a flat. So like I said, this is a great bottleneck spot right here. I mean, it's just awesome. So that's three fish pretty quick. We've actually had 4 or 5 bites total. So not bad. Grand slam already, guys. Grand slam already. What's that? Within 15 minutes of starting to fish? Look at that little keeper flounder. That is freaking awesome. That bait, I mean, it just catches everything. I just love the profile that this bait has, and if you put it on a lighter jig head, it just falls so slow, but it just catches fish, man. It's just a fish catching bait. I mean, you just saw it. It caught a 21-inch fish. For us, that's a pretty good fish in this area. So we got that. We've got flounder, got redfish. I went out the other day, I didn't even film, but I caught 7 or 8 redfish in a matter of like 20 minutes with this bait in one little area. So I know the redfish really like it. And I can't wait to flounder fish with it this summer. Fishing a lot of docks out in the back bay and all around Biloxi Harbor and Gulfport Harbor and all that stuff. Should be a pretty good bait. It's a good size. It's an overall really good size bait. They do make a bigger one. I haven't really tried that one yet. I think I'm gonna try that once it starts warming up and we start heading out to the islands. We'll start using that one a little bit more. Just want to fan cast around in these spots. They still move around quite a bit. I mean, they're not just hunkered down just in one spot and just sitting there. I mean, it's still plenty warm enough for these fish to move all around. So, you know, they'll kind of chase bait around, go around in these spots, and so you always want to fan cast. You know, fan cast a little bit, move up about 20 yards or so, and then do the same thing, and then you can always drift back to where you started at, which is what we're probably going to do here. Oh my goodness. Thumped it hard. Gonna ease up a few more yards. Been thinking about buying a kayak here lately. It'd be kind of cool. Fish out of a kayak. Something I could just keep in the back of my truck, especially now with or this summer, whenever it's going to start getting darker later. I can get off of work, keep the kayak in my truck, get off of work, go drop it in at the harbor for a couple hours and fish. A lot easier than dragging the boat to work. One of the things I cannot stress enough fishing like this is making sure that your bait goes down to the bottom, especially with these really light jig heads, because sometimes you'll throw it out there, you feel like it should be on bottom, you don't really see your line moving a whole lot, but most of the time that's because either the wind had caught your line or something like that, so it doesn't really look like it's falling anymore, but it really is. So you got to pay real close attention to your line. Make sure that it's going down all the way. And then once it hits that bottom, then you start popping it up. Give it good pops. There's one. Feels like a little guy. Right in the top of the mouth. Little guy. Bait's looking great. I've done caught this particular bait. I think I've already caught last time I went fishing. I caught 7 or 8 redfish on it. I've caught flounder, 3 trout, and a redfish on it today. It looks like I just put it on. So, man. Oh, man. thing keeps falling. Got too much weight on here, I guess. I'm probably gonna have to put my mount on, my chest mount on here pretty soon, because I don't want this thing to keep falling. But trying to get some different angles today. Sometimes that mount gets annoying to wear sometimes and gets in the way. So kind of like having it on the suction cup mount, but I think it's kind of cold and it's losing its suction a lot more today, so probably gonna have to switch over here pretty soon. All right, make some cast back over here from where we came from. Kind of work it back through that area. Like I said, gotta let it get out there. Go all the way down to the bottom. Make sure you're on the bottom. Because these pops that I'm doing, it's getting it up probably 3 feet or more off the bottom. I mean, these are pretty good pops, especially with this light of a bait. And this is a 7-foot 4-inch rod, so it's got a lot of movement to it. Probably gonna put a little bit heavier one on, maybe a little bit bigger bait, a little bit bigger profile, a little bit darker color as well, and see what type of reaction I get out of that. Make one more cast with this, or I try something else different. Go a little bit heavier. Do it. That way I can see if they want more of a reaction for whenever that bait drops really fast in front of their faces, or if they actually like that die-in, kind of almost fluttering, falling slow kind of in front of their face. Make a few casts with that, and then we'll go search some other areas over here. But there's definitely some fish moving through this area right now. But with it warming up a little bit, got the sun out, not much wind in this bend, they may be right on the edge of that flat too, which I haven't checked it out today, so I'll go check that out here in a second. I don't think they'll be on it. I think it's a little bit too chilly for that. Although they could be, as sunny as it is. It's pretty nice, sunny wise. All right. I'm gonna shut this off for a few minutes. I'm gonna change mounts.